So I just watched Brian Zane's recent Wrestling with Regret video, where he talked about Dean Ambrose, aka Jon Moxley's run in WWE before leaving, and he did a very good job at it. Brian Zane, when it comes to these kind of videos, in my opinion, adds more depth to the video, more creativity than I think he should when it comes to talking about these kind of topics. But it got me thinking. Will Jon Moxley ever go back to WWE? I mean, Zane basically said it himself. He believes there is no doubt we'll get another Shield reunion. Whether that Shield reunion happens in WWE or by pure ironic chance it happens maybe in AEW, that's only for the future to tell. Or that's only for us to find out in the future if the future goes in one way or another. But if we were to look at the possibilities of never say never, I would have to say yeah. I would say that depending on the outcome of the sale of WWE to whoever they go to, if that does happen, I would say most definitely yeah, I could see Dean coming back. Now, could I see him coming back after his contract expires in 2027? Well, he's gone on record in saying he doesn't plan on going anywhere else. However, we have seen many wrestlers, men and women, say that. They always say, I don't plan to go anywhere else. I plan to stay here. This is going to be my home. And then in the end, they end up going back to a place where they once were. Heck, a lot of sports athletes say that they are comfortable with their new team, that this is where they plan to retire, this is their home, but yet they inevitably go back. I mean, what's his name? Roger Kraft, I think that's his name, I believe, or the Kraft family, who owned the New England Patriots. They want to offer Tom Brady a one-day contract to retire as a Patriot. Now, whether or not Tom Brady takes that contract, that offer, is up to him. I mean, personally, I don't know how his wife would feel about it, but maybe his wife would be like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take that offer because knowing the Kraft family, they might try to get you to stay another year. So, so we'll just have to see what happens there. But the point that I'm getting at is a lot of people will say, where they will basically say that where they end up is where they're going to stay and where they're going to retire. Moxley right now says he wants to stay in AEW and not go anywhere else. But I just cannot sit here and believe that to be true. I can't. I cannot sit here and believe that to be true because honestly, I think Jon Moxley would want one more run in WWE. And if the new regime continues to be what it is now and evolves to even greater heights, again, depending on the outcome of the sale and whatever happens, with the TV rights deals and all that, I could see him wanting to maybe have one last go around there and be able to be, the Jon Moxley, the Dean Ambrose that he was hoping to be. Be the guy that you see in AEW and allow it to transition over to WWE and show the WWE audience and the WWE personnel, yeah, this is what you saw in AEW, I'm bringing here now, and this is what you could have had the last time. So, do I see him going back? Maybe. Do I see him going back before 2027? Well, that all depends on AEW. See, AEW right now is in a situation to where their future, potentially, is uncertain. I mean, I've talked about it many times before. Warner Brothers Discovery can say all they want that they are tremendously satisfied and in love with All Elite Wrestling. And to their credit, that might be true. But is it? You see, I even posted the question in video and podcast, if you will, of whether or not they're just saying that to make themselves look good so that AEW doesn't decide to go anywhere else. Because, in all honesty, a lot of corporations, network corporations in this case, will say whatever they have to keep what they know is the most viable asset, within the household, within the grasp. And if they have to come out and tell the public, oh, we love AEW, oh, we want to bring AEW to our Max service real soon and kiss up to it, make it look greater than it is, or potentially could be, then corporations like Warner Bros. Discovery will say that, when in actuality that may not be true, and all they're doing is just trying to, prevent, Tony Khan from negotiating with the likes of a Paramount or the likes of a Fox or an NBC or whoever. That's all they're doing. That's all the actuality that they're doing. So again, it's up to AEW's future, whether or not that future is a tremendous and hopefully grandiose future with Warner Bros. Discovery and TNT and TBS for the foreseeable next decade. Then honestly, I don't really see Dean leaving. But if things start to fall apart, which has been the case for a lot of wrestling companies on the major scale, WWE included, I could see Renee maybe convincing Jon, hey, if we look at the way things are going now, WWE is a lot better than it was before, and that feels like it's, it feels like it's being the true promised land that we thought it once was. Who's to say Renee won't convince Jon to try to get out of his contract, before 2027 to go back? We don't know. We don't know. But honestly, if I'm going to be truthful, I do see him doing it. I do see him doing it, and I think it's only because of the fact that if creative remains as it is now and evolves, as I mentioned, I could see it getting to a point where if Jon wants to end his career in the company that put him, straight into the stratosphere, despite how you feel about the way he was treated, this way and that, if Jon wants to do that, I think he'll take that chance. And I think if creative evolves, just enough to the point whether or not the company stays public or private, I could see Jon probably getting that opportunity to be the way he is now in AEW. Now, if it's public, I could see maybe him being more of a light version of what you see now. But whoever buys them, if they get sold to somebody like, let's say, Endeavor, and they decide to go private, I could see Jon, if creative, like I said, stays the way it is and evolves over time, I could see Jon basically going back there and being allowed to be the way he is now. Because everybody knows that when WWE was private, even during the early portions of the Attitude Era, they were able to get away with a lot of stuff. They were. I mean, heck, when they did the Ruthless Aggression Era, they were already public. And they were able to get away with stuff that you see in AEW now. So could I see Moxley making that choice if things get better creatively and maybe the company goes private or stays public or semi-public? Yeah, I can see him doing it. I could see him going back if, let's say, they do stay public, but they're allowed to be as ruthless as they were back in the mid-2000s. I could see that. But that's up to Moxley himself. Right now, he doesn't even want to consider WWE as an option because he's happy the way he is. I mean, he's having kick-ass matches, with the likes of Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, who he's faced before as Daniel Bryan, but not on the levels they're able to go at it with each other now. He's having kick-ass matches there in AEW with those people. He's having kick-ass matches, in GCW. He's having kick-ass matches in Japan. I mean, the guy is having the time of his life. Now, true, eventually, having all this freedom is eventually it will inevitably catch up with him to the point that maybe he might consider, along with Renee, going back to WWE and having that kind of a schedule is more healthier, in the long run than doing all this. I mean, even again, if he's allowed to kind of be what he is now, if he returns to WWE, it'll be a lot safer and a lot healthier. But again, that's up to Jon Moxley and Renee Young, or Renee Paquette. That's up to them. But could I see it? Yeah, I could. Could I see it happening probably before his contract's up? Most likely than anything, because I think honestly, if it, with everything he's putting his body through, inevitably it's going to catch up with him, and he's going to probably want to, for his own safety, his own future, want a lighter schedule. Now, I'm not saying Tony Khan wouldn't give it to him, and he probably would, but I think a more safer choice in the eyes of Renee and Jon would be WWE. But again, that's up to that's up to what he wants to do. That's up to, how the environment is at WWE at that time, and whether or not creative is, as you see it now, but more evolved to the point that the creative you could see within the next 5-6 years is 10 times, 100 times better than what you see right now with WWE and even AEW combined. Could I see him doing it? Yeah. Could I see him doing it after his contract in 2027 is up? Yeah. Could I see him getting out of his contract early to kind of heal up his body and wanting to go back to WWE and maybe hang it up there? Yeah. I could see all that. But again, I know I'm repeating myself here, but again, it's all up to Moxley. It's all up to Moxley. I mean, I could use myself as a prime example. I spent 6 years, 6.5 years at Walmart. 7, if you count, 7.5 years if you count my year and a half over at the Lawrence Walmart back in 2006 to 2007. You can count that as a year there, and then the 6.5 years here combined in between. Basically, 7 years being unemployed. I spent 7.5 years, almost 8 years at one company. And when I look back at that to me, I don't think I ever pictured myself being anywhere else. But now look where I'm at. I'm at Target. And I've been there now for over a year. And do I plan to stay at Target? Right now, the way things are going, hopefully with no incidences or situations in the future, yeah, I do plan to stay at Target because it's a better environment, it's more organized, and in a way you have a little bit more freedom than you would at Walmart. I mean, Walmart gave me a bit of freedom, but this feels more like it's organized free. It's more like you got your freedom, but it's more well contained, more like you could do this, you could do that, everything, have fun in your work, but keep it, contained, keep it well organized. And to me that works out fine. I mean, does it mean I'm not going to go back to Walmart in the future if anything else happens? I'm not saying that. There's always that door of opportunity that's preparing to be open right now. So could I see myself going back? Again, it's up to what the future holds. The same with Jon Moxley. Could I see him going back to WWE within the next 4 years, 3.5 years, 2 years? Yeah, I could. But it's all based on what the future holds, in store for him as far as like how much more can his body take, how much can he do and everything. Because again, even though Tony Khan could give him, a lighter schedule, and I have no doubt he would, you got GCW, you got, New Japan, you got them wanting to probably have a piece of him. And I don't know if Jon would want to do that anymore. So again, could I see him potentially returning after his 2027 contract is up? Yeah. Could I see him wanting to get out early? Maybe because it's, by 2025, 2026, his body's catching up with him. And he's like, look, if I'm going to continue this maybe for another year or two, I want to do it in a safer environment. And maybe Renee convinces him that going back to Stamford is the best option. Could I see that happening? Yeah. I absolutely could. And again, who knows? The landscape in WWE creatively could change in a very positive manner to where, like I said, it could be 100 times better than what you see right now in WWE and in AEW. And it might, and by by then, Jon could see that and be like, hey, that's what, basically Jon and Renee, what I'm trying to say, could be like, hey, that's where we need to go. We need to go back there because that looks like the WWE I wanted to be part of the entire time. So, who knows? Who knows? But again, it's just it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of what the future holds. And yeah, I have no doubt we will see Moxley back in WWE sooner rather than later. Whether or not he gets himself out of his contract by 2025 or he stays to the end of his 2027 deal, if you will, I could see him showing up there. I could. And if things go in a positive trajectory that they are now, then yeah, I could see him going back there, especially if creative is 100 times better than what it is. And let's say someone like Endeavor owns the company. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But what do you guys think? Do you think Jon Moxley, based on Brian Zane and what he said at the end of his video, Do you think Jon Moxley could potentially go back? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comment section as well as in the live chat during the premiere. You will get an audio podcast version of this later. Guys, give me your thoughts. Check out the Teespring store as well for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. Also, support me at Venmo at Brian-Walmart-2, Cash App at BWRoses98. Also, guys, check me out at patreon.com/BWRoses with the $1 or $3 tier. And until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. And also check me out at VENMO for content you can't get anywhere else. There will be something new coming up there, hopefully, without any issue. And again, like I said, until next time, guys, give me your thoughts in the live chat and below. And I am out.